Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. This is Tide Talk Sports Network once again, and the NBA trade deadline is just a few days away. It is in the coming week, and I'm here to talk about it quickly. I'm going to talk about a few players who I wouldn't be surprised to go on the move and be changing teams. I think that there is a very crazy trade deadline coming up. I feel like there's lots to talk about. So on my phone right here, I got a few guys who I wouldn't be surprised to see on the move this trade deadline. So James Harden, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Julius Randle, De'Aaron Fox, Russell Westbrook, and John Collins. All big name guys who are in trade talks and have been for the past few days now, past few weeks. So let's just talk about a few of these and let's just see what could potentially happen. So we'll start off with some ones that I've already talked about. I've already talked about the Collins situation that he could possibly go into San Antonio. I don't really know any suitors that could be looking for him. I think he brings intensity. He brings dirty work under the basket. He's an amazing lob threat and is great in the interior defense. And there's lots of teams who need that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the move. But the Hawks have really started turning it around lately. But it has to do with Trae Young's play. But he's getting his guys involved. So I wouldn't be surprised to see John Collins on the move. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see him stay. Next, we'll talk about Julius Randle and De'Aaron Fox. These are two guys. We're going to throw the tweet up on screen now, but there is a possible swap of these two guys. Julius Randle, throw up the other tweet, has unfollowed the Knicks from Instagram. I mean, that's got to mean something. So, but there was a video the other day where a reporter asked him that he was in trade rumors, and Julius Randle said who reported it. And the reporter couldn't give him an exact answer, so then he started at ESPN, but obviously that wasn't the true source. But Julius Randle, I mean, obviously he said that the basketball is a business. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the roof because the Knicks are very underwhelming this year. They haven't lived up to all of our expectations that we set for them this year. And the Kings are a team that just, they're the Kings. There's no other way to put it. They haven't really done anything in quite some time, but we've learned through the past few weeks that the Kings need to build around Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton has been amazing. Throw up his stats for the month of January. They're on the screen now. I mean, Halliburton had like 14 points in a minute and a half against the Sixers. Halliburton is good, and I think the Kings need to build around him. And I think the Kings could really shop half their team. They can get good value for De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield, Rashawn Holmes, Marvin Bagley. He was the number 2 pick, but man, he has been very disappointing. And I think they can probably get a pick. I mean, at least a pick for him, and maybe just get something out of him. They have a lot of players on their roster who they could flip for other pieces. So the Kings need to start the rebuild around Halliburton. I don't think Fox isn't bad, and he's just not the right fit there. I think Fox could take his talents elsewhere and play for a contending team. So my next one, we'll talk about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is not who we anticipated whenever he was traded to the Lakers. The Lakers gave up a huge package for him of KCP, Kyle Kuzma, Harrell. I think a pick. I can't confirm or deny, but it's on the screen now. So the package that Russell Westbrook was given up for is on the screen. And personally, as a Spurs fan, I wish the Spurs would have done that trade because KCP, a wing shooter, Spurs need. Kyle Kuzma's developing and Harrell's big. But I won't talk too much about the Spurs. This is more just about coverage. In my opinions, more just covering reports and getting my thoughts on him. So, and if I want to hear everyone else's thoughts. But Russell Westbrook is not who we anticipated him to be. I mean, he just isn't the fit. And whenever the Lakers traded for him, I personally thought that I don't know how this fit was going to work. I mean, these are 3 ball-dominant guys. I mean, LeBron loves the ball in his hands the whole time. I mean, AD, he loves to do a lot of scoring. But Westbrook, I mean, in Oklahoma City and partly in Washington and not as much in Houston, but Westbrook had the ball in his hands almost 50% of the time. So I think that this trio, it just isn't working. But I don't know who his value is so low right now. I don't know who the Lakers can try and get out of him. So they're going to have to try and get something out of him, or they're going to have to keep running this experiment for the rest of the season. And I just don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how this Lakers team will do going down the stretch of March and April when these tough games come up and possibly in the playoffs. I mean, LeBron always turns it up in the playoffs. He's LeBron. He's going to do that. But I just don't know about this Lakers team. I mean, Malik Monk is now a clear third scoring option for this team, and that's not a bad, and that's a good thing. Malik Monk is 24 years old, playing on a veteran minimum contract, and he has been arguably the steal of free agency. So the Lakers have some pieces, but I think they need to try probably moving on from this Westbrook experiment because it hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. Westbrook has played good at times, but most of this season it just hasn't worked. So enough about that. Let's talk about the biggest reports. It's on screen now. James Harden, the Philadelphia 76ers. And when we think of the Philadelphia 76ers roster situations, we all think of Ben Simmons. Throughout almost since summer, Ben Simmons has wanted out. I mean, he's made it clear he wants out. He doesn't want to play for Philly. And Philly has been good without him. Tyrese Maxey has stepped up and emerged as a true point guard for that Philly team. And they need to try and get something out of Ben Simmons because I think that they have value. They have pieces to make a big-time trade, and they want to trade for James Harden. And there's reports that the Nets and Sixers will possibly be doing a big blockbuster deal in the next few days that will send Harden to Philly and Ben Simmons to Brooklyn. So there's a big trade possibility going down right now, and that would shape up a lot. Having James Harden and Joel Embiid would just be scary. You have a guy who can take on the ISO every single play, and you have Embiid who's playing like he's the MVP right now. Those two guys would be insane. And then you're still going to have Maxey. You're still going to have Thibault. But the problem is, I do think that Harris will be involved in that trade. And Harris has kind of been a big part of their offense these past few weeks. I mean, Harris has been putting up great numbers. And he's been helping that 76ers team win games. So I don't know. I think it'd be a lot to give up Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris for James Harden. I think they could maybe try and get Ben Simmons for a guy like maybe De'Aaron Fox. I feel like he's a good fit for that team. But I don't know if it's worth giving up so much for one player. And yes, James Harden can play at an MVP level, but he has kind of been a little bit disappointing this year as well, along with Westbrook. Those are two guys who have really been kind of disappointing this season. And Harden will put up MVP numbers any given night. He could go out tomorrow and score 40 points. Like, he has that type of ability. This is James Harden we're talking about. He's one of the most electrifying offensive players in the whole National Basketball Association and in the whole world. So Harden can easily break out of a slump, but he has not been absolutely amazing this year. Obviously, Kevin Durant always has had the reins of this Brooklyn Nets team, even when he was injured. I mean, that's all everyone was talking about. Like, when is Kevin Durant going to get back? And Kevin Durant, I mean, still hasn't been playing for quite a few weeks now since that MCL sprain. So I have no idea when he's going to be back. It should be soon. So there's a lot of potential changes going on for these two teams right now. It would shake up the whole Eastern Conference. It would shake up the whole league. I mean, Brooklyn is a struggling team right now. They're on a league high 7-game losing streak right now. So I don't know if they need to try and get Kyrie back full time, if they need to make a trade, but something's got to be done. The two teams that need the most are the Lakers and Nets. They need to do something and fast because they got to change what they're going. If these teams who we thought would be top tier contenders, if they want to get back to that level of what we anticipated them being. So that's really it. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of I can cover. We do have one trade to report of though. Yesterday, the Clippers and the Blazers had a deal that involves Norman Powell and Eric Bledsoe. As it's on screen now, I'm reading it off my phone. But the Clippers were able to get Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and the Blazers got Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a second-round pick. So my opinions on this trade, the Clippers absolutely finessed the Blazers because Norman Powell is a guy who gets buckets. Norman Powell is a 3-and-D wing player, and he's a great fit. And and then they got Robert Covington, who hasn't been phenomenal this year. He hasn't really been doing anything standout, but he's a 3-and-D guy as well. He'll get you a bucket every now and then, and is a great perimeter defender. So I mean, for them to only give up Eric Bledsoe, who's 32, and Justice Winslow. I mean, Keon Johnson is nice, but a second-round pick. The Blazers traded Gary Trent Jr. for Norman Powell, and then traded Norman Powell for Eric Bledsoe. I don't know what their front office is doing, because if they want to keep Damian Lillard for long term, they got to get him more help, because it's just not a good roster. I mean, hey, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Dame be traded in the offseason. I think he stays the full year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him or CJ McCollum be traded. I wouldn't be surprised to see those guys go. But I think the Clippers got an absolute steal in that trade, and they won that. They absolutely won that. And the Blazers gave up, I don't know why they would give up those guys for the little package they got. To get a 32-year-old Eric Bledsoe, it just doesn't make sense. It just really doesn't make sense. Keon Johnson will be nice, but there's really no value in that trade. There's nothing that the Blazers really got. So that is the one trade that went down yesterday. And as we approach the deadline, more and more trades are going to happen. More stuff's going to go down. So there's going to be a lot more to cover in the next few days as the trade deadline approaches. So obviously I'll be here and I'll be on it. I'm going to be ready to cover it as soon as possible to get you guys all the newest information. So that is really just a quick, brief overview of predictions of what I think will go down in the trade deadline. So the day after filming this video, I have some breaking news to cover here. So we'll start off with the light news, is that Steve Nash has said he does not expect James Harden to be leaving, and he said he will not be trading him. So that obviously everything I just talked about a couple minutes ago is now invalid. But the biggest thing that has happened today, just I think a little bit over an hour ago or just around, we got a Woj bomb. The Cavaliers are sending a package to the Pacers that includes Ricky Rubio's expiring contract, a lottery-protected 2022, and a first-round pick, and 2 seconds to the Indiana Pacers for Caris LeVert. Now, I remember the reports coming out a few days ago that they were trying to get him, and I was like, okay, he could be a good fit. Who would they give up, though? They just gave up a lot of picks. That's when we found out who they're giving up. This is a great fit for the Cavs. The Cavs have been the most surprising team this season. Garland's an all-star, and they just have a really solid team. And now bringing in Caris LeVert to this mix, he's a guy who's going to get buckets, man. Like, he dropped 42 a few nights ago against the Bulls. And Caris LeVert is a guy who's known can have amazing nights. I think this is a great acquisition for Cleveland. Another guy to get some points on the board. And he's going to be great. I think he's going to be a great all-around player that'll help Garland. He'll take some stress off of him. He's going to be... I just really am happy with this move right here by Cleveland. I think he's going to be a great fit. And that's really all I have to say about it. Just an amazing, amazing, amazing trade for Cleveland to bring in a great guy such as Caris LeVert. So, Woj bombs are coming, guys. We got more coming. So, once again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on the post notification bell so you never miss when I upload the newest content here on this channel. Everyone have a good rest of your day, wherever you're watching from. Till then, this is Tide Talk Sports signing off.